Hey, what's up guys, and welcome back to Anime Making 2. And today I'm going to be giving you part 2 of What If Naruto Had the Rarest Bloodline. Remember to get this one to 100 likes as usual. Share this to all of your friends on your social media platform. And also guys, stay tuned for the rest of the What Ifs coming your way. And I hope you guys enjoy each and every one of them. And also guys, I'm going to be posting a brand new episode over Anime Making and Anime Making 3. So stay tuned for those, and I do hope that you guys enjoy. And remember, if you're new and this is the first time you're hearing my voice and you enjoy the videos on both Anime Making 2 and Anime Making 3. Yes, I have 3 channels guys. Links will be down in the description for you guys to enjoy. So yeah, without further ado, what do you say we begin this new episode? Start the intro. So, the last time we left off, as Naruto was pissed off, yes he was, as he was currently cursing with Nagato. Both of them were arguing, as Nagato wanted to collect all the tail pieces to use them as a super weapon to bring peace to the world, as Naruto told him how idiotic and stupid his idea was. As Nagato told him that he didn't have to be here for it, as Naruto told him that he will not, so Nagato told him to leave, and that he did. As Konan pleaded for him to stay and tried to stop him, but he simply walked away, telling her that he will need someone. He was talking about Nagato. As Naruto made his way, the moment he stepped outside, his little protege was waiting for him. Her name was Tsuaki. As Naruto remembered when he first met her, Naruto had been born in a country called Darkness. Most people in Darkness had strange bloodlines, and he himself had a strange bloodline that he did not know about when he was, well, younger. His parents had moved towards the Hidden Rain, seeing that there was a war going on in Darkness. As he first met Yaiko here, everything was going good until the village was attacked. As the civil war in the Hidden Rain went out wide. His parents exploded right in front of him from a explosive tag on the ground. As he was shaking badly, but he had to make sure the others were okay, as he quickly got them to safety even though he was shaking. Tsuaki had took to him from that day, even more than before, as she saw him as some idol, and she always stood by his side no matter what. As Naruto took care of them, as they started to notice his efforts, Tsuaki was the first one to notice that he went hungry most times so that they could eat. As the time went on, they were approached by the Sanins. As Naruto didn't want to take up much of Jiraiya's time, saying that he didn't want to split his focus, so he told him to train the other 3. Orochimaru took an interest in Naruto and started training him. As Naruto told him that Tsuaki was still too young. She was from Darkness as well and also had a bloodline. But he waited until she was a bit older. It was then that Orochimaru found out that Naruto was an anomaly, something rare. He had a lightning bloodline nature for itself, but he had a smoke release, the rarest one Orochimaru has ever seen before, and the things that he could do with it. As Naruto was wearing a mask. So with that, both him and Tsuaki exited the village. 3 months passed as they were at Kiri. Tsuaki knew that Naruto was broken, all the pain and suffering that he has been holding on to now, to be, well, away from his home, from his friends that he helped so long ago. It was tearing him apart. Tsuaki came home one day and saw him with a mask. As she saw his face, something was definitely wrong with his face. As his face was because of his bloodline, something was happening to it. As he had went to Konoha and talked to Orochimaru about it. Yes, it was because of his bloodline. As Naruto asked Tsuaki why was she following him. She talked to him. After all that he did for her, she had made her life goal no matter what, to stay by his side despite the hardship that he might go through. As Naruto told her, come on, they were going to train. They made their way towards Darkness where they were quite popular, well Naruto. The people of Darkness were quite happy because the daimyo here sell out the Darkness country to Konoha and the Fire country. And they heard about Naruto in the war when he was killing Konoha ninjas when they tried to invade the Hidden Rain. And they found out that he was from the village. And they found out that Tsuaki was from the village as well. And that made the people of Darkness happy. And Naruto came back home. First thing he did was drive out all the people that did not belong in darkness out of their country. As both him and Sawaki made their way towards where the daimyo was, as the man was locked up inside of his castle, guards guarding him 24/7. As Naruto and Sawaki stood there, as Naruto counted the guards, as both him and Sawaki got ready to execute the man. So yeah guys, those basically that's what I thought. You guys can switch across to the place and check out first episode to begin this new episode. Are you ready? Said Naruto. Yeah, ready. Alright. 3. Naruto saw a flash of rage shoot out from Sawaki's palm and went into one of the ninja's neck. The man then turned and swung his fist, slamming it into his own comrade's face. As he turned and pulled the kunai and burned it into his comrade's neck. Sawaki then moved. She reappeared with a burst of speed on top of the shinobi's shoulder. She drove her heel right into the shinobi's head. She flicked 2 needles as he stabbed straight into 2 of the shinobis as they fall. As the one that she was standing on started to fall, she flipped off and tossed 4 more needles as they impale in 4 others. The one ninja had just done bashing his comrade's face. This all happened in 15 seconds. Meanwhile, with Naruto, the moment Sawaki had vanished, he burst into dark smoke. As he appeared right behind a ninja, slice. He was gone in the black smoke again. Slice, 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 slice. Several others fall. All of them lied on the ground dead, their throats slit. As only a practiced surgeon would know how to do something like that. For the most effect, one slice and their life was gone. No waiting, just gone. It was like death itself was teleporting around the building, but this death could not be seen. The only thing you could see was the bodies that were falling as death made its way. None of them saw anything coming until it happened, and their attacker simply moved on to his next target, wasting no time at all. The last shinobi had his throat sliced. He quickly covered the wound with his arm, but the blood sprayed. As he collapsed, he saw black boots landing right in front of his face. That was 22 seconds. I guess you win, Sue, the man heard. He then saw another pair landed. Cool, said Sawaki. Alright, let's go kill this guy, said Naruto as he stepped forward. His body burst into black smoke as the black smoke traveled through the crack of the door. The small tiny cracks. Sawaki huffed as she wondered how she was going to get into the building without triggering the alarms. She would have to ask her teacher to teach her the hidden art, secret smoke technique, body smoke, tunnel transformation. Well, at least a variation of it that would suit her bloodline somehow. As she climbed up the wall to one of the sentry posts, she removed the key from one of the dead man's pocket as her eyes were red. As they were vicious and quiet, he promised he was going to give her extra lessons if she did well, and she was going to get them no matter what. By sunrise the next morning, as hundreds of thousands dark citizens had gathered, they had traveled for 2 days to arrive at the point where they found out that the daimyo, the head of the royal clan, had been ousted, and the royal clan has been disbanded. They have been exiled out of darkness country without any money, without any resources, nothing to their name. As the last non-darkness member was kicked out of the country, the place was sealed up by the best Foy the master. A week-long celebration. They party, they celebrate. They did not mind that the borders were locked off, because a war, the civil war that plagued them for so long, was finally over. This 7-day party was organized by the rebel leader and the 6 clan heads. The day when the daimyo was taken care of was made as a day of celebration and named after the 2 ninjas that saved them all. But his student had stepped down and gave her teacher all the credit, because if not for him, she would have never returned. Fireworks and music could be heard and seen from as far as the hidden sand. Even some part in the Fire Nation, as the party reigned on for a long 7 days. As the party ended at the 7th day, the rebel leader, along with the backing of the 6 clan heads and the population as a whole, declared Naruto their new leader. He was now the leader of the Dark Country. Time skip. First order of business. As Naruto waited for silence, and it came, everyone went silent. The thousands of people giving him all of their attention and focus. He laid out the first 4 phases he saw his country foregoing before they could truly get back to their feet. All of the people that were displaced during the war can now return to their homes, and restoration and rebuilding will begin as soon as sunrise tomorrow. I will personally go about, accompanied by my student. He motioned towards Sawaki. As she was at his right, she nodded her head to supervise the work. Those that had fled the village when the war was at its peak should be contacted and given the option to come back. As he looked towards the rebel leader, the man bowed towards his new lord, as he was going to be sending out soldiers to tell those of darkness who had left when the war was at its peak, who feared their life. They can now return home because the war was over. For now, our priority for all of us is to recycle parts from destroyed buildings and machines and reuse them to build our home again. Once we have generated enough money, we shall make our buildings stronger and better. The crowd exploded in cheers, roaring out their approval. As Naruto looked at them, they were happily going on with everything. But the issue ran deeper. He needed to meet with the clan heads and the rebel leader, former rebel leader, to find out how much money they have and to know how much people was in the country, as he knew that they didn't have much money and food was scarce. So to handle that, while the people were building, he will separate a small group of ninjas to disperse rations and also help the farmers so they can grow their crops faster. They don't even have to worry about security, as he set up dozens of clones to watch over the patrol borders, along with some of the clan members as well. He knew that his country was rich with natural and human resources, but he never knew that it was this full. And the country was large. It was like the entire village of the Hidden Stone and half of Kumo come together. That was how large the country was, and there was a lot of people here. He now understand why Konoha had used the former daimyo to sap his country resources. Because darkness was rich with strong and healthy, saturated trees that could build houses and materials that could stand up to the age of time. Nothing less than a strong tornado jutsu could make them fall. There were gold mines off the east of the country under the control of 4 of the 6 clans. And there was also natural gas pocketed together at the east. The seaboard over towards the west was filled with fishes, and there was also many smaller lakes and ponds that were just overfilled with fishes all around. And the entire north where the animals were under the protection of 4 of the clans. The last and most important thing was the cave with the obsidian steel to the north side of the country. Black cursed metal was so rare and so hard to mine that if you didn't know what you were doing, it would be literally impossible. Well, it would, but it would take a long while, seeing that it took Konoha years to mine small pieces of the black metal, because the clan that could mine them perfectly refused to help and give out any information. But that clan provided information with a new leader of darkness how to mine the obsidian. With this knowledge, Naruto would say that the old ways of mining obsidian was effective, but it would need a bit of refining. Obsidian steel was a rare mineral that only Darkness Country. It was the only place that had the caves that produced the obsidian. The metal was the strongest in the world, and also a danger to those that touched them that weren't the Wheelers or from the Soul Clan that could mine the obsidian. When they got out of the academy, the Genins were given a graduation reward, a kunai, from the obsidian. And if they pay for it, they could get any weapon of their choosing crafted from the metal. It was from drop shinobis from darkness that Konoha was able to get some of their hands on the obsidian. As Naruto didn't really have a leader tower that he could, well, call a home right now, seeing that most of them are destroyed while the people are getting kicked out. He would camp wherever he can. He told them they need to build the houses first for the people to get a warm home, as he would just accept invitation by civilians and clan heads to stay over their place. After all, he did not want Sawaki to sleep on the floor. The people were beyond touch. He wanted them to have their place before him, as they couldn't believe it. He wanted them to have a roof over their head before him. It just made their admiration of him grew tenfold. They worked harder and faster to give everyone back a house. and also build a large orphanage. All the people that lost their parents, all the kids. Everyone is supposed to have a home that they can live in comfortably, like the elderly, who were too old to look after themselves. A large set of land was left right in the middle of the country. That is where their leader tower would be. As for the moment though, as Tsuaki stretched her arms as she yawned, she rubbed her eye as she placed her mask back over her face. "Thanks for having us, ma'am," said Naruto, as Naruto made sure that Tsuaki had got the comfortable bed, as he didn't want her to be sleeping outside in a sleeping bag anymore. That was a compromise that he had with his family, as he took the couch in the living room, and she slept in the spare bed with the children. He also didn't stay longer than 3 days, choosing to move around the country and supervise the rebuilding that it was undertaking. The civilian woman bowed her head. "It's an honor, my lord," she said. The children joined in and bowed to the leader of darkness. As Naruto nodded and walked ahead as Tsuaki followed behind him, least note for any piece of information because he usually dropped them every once in a while. He did not have much time to train her, but he always gave her tips and tricks here and there when they move along, as he usually did that as usual. For the vampire bloodline user, it come handy in the future, his tips and tricks. As they got to the central of darkness, where the leader tower was being built, as Naruto looked up at the sun, it was still early in the morning, as he made his way towards a noisy working site, as his presence caused everyone to turn to gawk at their lord. As he looked around for the contractor, as he finally spotted the man was running as fast as his legs could carry him, as he had 5 blueprints in his arms, and there was 2 attendants behind him as they were carrying a table. They placed down the table as the man rolled out the blueprints. It looked good. As Naruto nodded at the man as he told him what he wanted to do and how he was going to do it. All those things can be done in the village without anyone having to provide any help. As Naruto saw that the houses that they have built so far were stable, they need a few renovations as well as a train Foy just a team to go around applying some seals that he learned from Orochimaru to make life easier. All in all, it was 10-story tall with 3 stories going underground. The building was well and fully furnished. After it was done, there was still going to be material left over, so that can be used to help the other people. There's no rush, Naruto says, he patted the man on his shoulder as the man was shivering a bit, thinking that he wouldn't like it for some reason. This will be the administrating headquarters of the entire country, and this entire region will be our capital nation. We want to show our future allies that we're strong. When we invite allies, they will have to see firsthand the greatness of darkness, the shops, the houses, the hotels. I don't want any inch of my country to look old or feel cold or dirty. We have a long way to go before we seek alliances, but I believe that darkness will be the strongest country on the planet. As his words were heard, his words, his promise ignited a fire in their chests. It was like they were sleeping for years, for centuries, and not doing anything. Darkness was a nation that didn't like to be noticed. They had worked for years by themselves until Fire Country, Konoha in particular, had nearly worked their country to death. Their new leader had made a promise to them, a vow, and they would help him achieve his goals to their dying breaths no matter what. They all slammed their feet on the ground as they placed a hand over their chests as they shouted, "Yes, sir!" As Naruto's eyes curved up into a small smile as he looked at the constructor. "So now, where can I get my hard hat?" he asked. Some of the weak-willed civilians fainted. He was gonna physically work with them? The poor man couldn't help but stutter. No, sir, we can handle this," he said. Tsuaki covered her mouth as she hid a giggle. As Naruto looked at the man with confusion, "I assure you I won't get in the way if you tell me what to do. With all due respect, sir," the man said, as he bowed his head. "There is no need for you to stress yourself. We can handle this," he said. As Naruto started looking in the man's eye, "Okay," he said. "When will it be done?" "About 10 months, Lord Naruto." As Naruto tapped his chin and thought, "That seems like a long time." The constructor wanted to tell him that if he gets some more help, he can cut the time in half. But Naruto turned to a random ninja. "Tell Yuto to summon the 6 clans head here. We're gonna begin phase 2, he said. After about 30 minutes, the clan heads were gathered. As Naruto start, rehabilitation, he said. Re-education, he said, like it was an afterthought. The country won't be able to grow unless the people themselves are growing. I don't mean growing physically, but mentally, he said, tapping the side of his head with his finger. The Civil War stopped all schools, and shinobi training was rush and hazard, rushing young children into battle. Ill-prepared. I understand the reason, said Naruto as he saw one of the clan heads wanting to speak, as he understand why they were rushed, given that there was a civil war going at the time. But seeing that we have peace, we have to change that. Civilians and clan children have to be in school, whether it's a civilian or ninja academy. Only those who aren't indigenous to this country aren't allowed, not until I form an alliance with their respective countries. I also want those who were made ninjas during the war to go back to the academy if they wish, to fine-tune their skills. I will not tolerate any half-assed training, he said. The clan heads nodded as one of them wrote down what he said. The former daimyo vault has been raided, and there is enough money to pay teachers for about 2 years. But before we officially open the school, I want to make sure that they don't cave in on the students. Time skip. The turnout for the first day of the ninja and civilian academy was unbelievable. Thousands and thousands of men and women and child made their way as they could choose which school they want to go to. Life was slowly returning back to normal within Dark Country. The trauma of the war still remained within some of them, but Naruto had opened a special clinic where those people could be helped. The civilians were getting properly educated by teachers who were hiding during the war, and the aspiring ninjas were getting tutored by veteran ninjas who were in the war. Soldiers who had returned from near-fire country had came back to help as well, informing their leader of the state of Konoha at the moment before they left. The Leaf was pissed. Their ninjas had come back in a box or mutilated, and they were angry. Despite their anger, they were smart. The barrier that was erected by Dark was nearly impenetrable, and the majority knew that it was the ghost that was leading the country, so that stopped them from doing anything rash. They had tried to kill him before in the war. They sent 150 ninjas after him, and he slaughtered them all. Their fear though, as Konoha was getting stronger, darkness was also getting stronger as well. And that was true. Darkness was getting stronger and stronger. The utter devotion that the people put in to impress their leader was beyond enough. And the studies in the academy, everything was just growing. The results show every 6 months. And then they needed more equipment. They needed more supplies. They needed to enlarge the school because everyone was just pouring in because everything was going so wonderful. As the crops, the soil, it started to get rich once again as they started to feed all the massive in the village. Pipes were laid in the ground and connect to a clean water source to every house. The main source of electricity was from a dam west of the country, and after a number of years, backup generators had been provided to all in case of a blackout. This water-powered electricity came after 4 years after Naruto had taken information from rigorous studies of engineers in the country. After many trials and many errors, it has been 6 years. 6 years after the Civil War has ended, Dark Country has finally reached a brick wall in their developments. The country was clean and the people was happy. At the moment, Naruto was sitting behind his desk. He was currently reading a letter from the Uzukage, who wanted a possible alliance. As Naruto realized it was time to take another step, the last step, he has been sending letters back and front towards the clan of Redheads, telling them that Darkness wasn't ready for alliance yet, trying to sound respectively as possible. But with this alliance, Darkness would get resources. Yes, resources from a country that was not really sharing with most. Yes, and that could keep the economy moving. Alongside a trade agreement, the Redheads has gone as far for personal important for alliance as they met him in his office almost every single day. Darkness economy was booming. That much was obvious to everyone. Fresh currency moved around the village and the forces, bringing fresh for you to buy the goods and services that Darkness had to offer. There was a group of ninja that went around capturing missing names, and they brought back 10 million Ryu worth of bounties, and it was split within the village. The country was becoming industrialized, and they needed more money to fund all of the current programs that was currently adding to the village. But no things were needed, the alliance. It was finally time, as Naruto replied to the Uzukage. But not only that, he sent a letter towards the Kazekage, the Mizukage of Kiri, and the daimyo of River Country, who he would personally go there to establish the alliance. The replies came a week later. River Country daimyo wanted to go towards Darkness to see the things that he has been hearing, and the Kazekage also wanted to witness the Dark Country and see what they have been doing. Buildings, the nations, everything that has been heard that was going on in Darkness. The leader of Darkness, that was Naruto, declined for the Uzukage to come here, as he would go there out of respect for the man. It was the right thing to do, seeing that he has been deflecting the Uzu leader for years now, and it was finally time that they were going to start the alliance. Time skip. Uzu was miles away to the south from Darkness. The island was protected by killer whirlpools that could rip and shred boats to dust. Naruto, with a flock of Dark Country people behind him, waited on the shore for the ship that would take him and his people towards Uzu. It wasn't even funny anymore how the people look up to him and how they want to be around him, physically or not. This could be seen from the shops, the hotels, and all the things that were built around his tower. As Naruto started to talk to them, he noticed a look in their eyes, the same look that the clan heads had when they had talked about it, when they were going to sign alliances between countries. They were nervous, as he decided to explain to them the problem with our former alliances. They were just non-aggression pact, like Konoha and the Fire Country. We were never alliance, there was just a pact signed between us, so that we wouldn't harm each other despite what they have done. But that is now over, he said. We should start to make friends with the ones that never harmed us or try anything. Take care, for example, he said, as he went into his teacher mode, what Suwaki would call it. They are more like us, they have many clans, many bloodline users, and they have a known history of being defensive for their allies. Those from Kiri among us can detest for their village. The people concede to that point, as Kiri and the other 4 villages that they wanted to communicate and allied with wanted the ally as well. And not to mention, Naruto was the leader here. The council that he created had no real power aside from, well, the clan heads and talking when it comes to civilian devices. But he could deny or accept what he wanted. But they always believed in him, as he was the one that brought them out of everything and brought peace to their country and brought a growth that is never seen before in their country. So they will always follow along with his option. And plus, they also wanted to follow him. He hasn't been wrong, and these alliances doesn't sound too bad. The conversation between him and his ninjas returned back normal. They spoke about their life and their kids and the future. Some of them used this to pitch ideas to him about creating a tactical forces that work on harder missions. That was the idea Naruto could get behind. If the alliance talk went well, the country will have more access to more missions. Suwaki, speaking for the first time, added her voice and supported her comrade idea. As Naruto looked towards her with a smile, she wasn't as withdrawn or uncaring to others like in the past. The now 21-year-old young lady realized her role as the leader student, and also his advisor, as he bounced idea off of her and gauged her response most of the time. They still wear their black cloaks, but in the case of Suwaki, her clothes were more fitted for a slim figure and reached only her mid-chin. Her legs were covered by silver-colored leggings, and she wore normal black shinobi sandals. There was also a headband on her forehead for the Darkness Country, and she still wore her mask like her teacher did. She didn't look like she was carrying any weapons, but she did have a scroll on her back where she carried her things and her teacher things as well. For Naruto, his black cloak had pitchy white designs on it, with the kanji for darkness drawn on his back. He also had a hat on his head that had the kanji for darkness on it as well. He looked the same image of power that his people have of him, and much more. He oozed power of his status and everything, but also, he was also a double S rank shinobi. He was their beacon of hope, he was their source of strength. Just being around him made them feel strong. If not for him, Darkness would be a dying nation right now. And now that he was a leader, they could only imagine the things that he had planned for his country. The ship finally arrived and Naruto boarded with his student and 5 pointed guards. Meanwhile, in Konoha, Hiruzen Sarutobi, the current leader, the Hokage of the village, received the report that the leader of Darkness was heading for Whirlpool Country, and he promptly sent for the Kurama clan head. He needed to find a way into darkness. Hiruzen knew that the clan head of the Kurama clan would be angry, and he was. She was a cool-headed woman in her late 50s. Bright orange hair and perfectly tan skin, as she was currently smirking at the Hokage at the moment because of her answer that she just gave him. We will not betray Lord Naruto, and we will certainly never betray darkness. As she crossed her leg, as her battle kimono switched with her, Hiruzen closed his fists. I specifically remember your clan swearing loyalty with a leaf. No, she said quickly. Umara Kurama said that was her name. As she looked at Hiruzen, we were forced out of our homes by your ninja and the dead royal clan. The royal clan signed off all the rights to the Kurama clan to Konoha, but that alone wouldn't have forced them out of darkness. Konoha had conspired with the then daimyo to kidnap the current holder of Mania, and the Kurama clan had to follow, because if they did not, the beast that they had kept under lock would break free and destroy the world. That was a curse of the Kurama clan. Their potent chakra kept the beast asleep. As the holder, a child of the Kurama clan did not have the chakra to do it herself, and the Kurama could not bodily touch a girl or the beast would wake up from its slumber. The clan did not specialize in seals. They had been using an arcade seal to hold the beast. That seal has been here for 100 years or so. Mania was a secret kept in the clan alone, and Konoha has been trying to looking for a way to use that powerful demon to their bay. But the Kurama clan did not let anyone near it, and they refused to become Konoha shinobis. You swore your services to the will of fire, said Hiruzen. She shook her head as she looked at Hiruzen. No, we didn't. The dead royal clan signed us away, and they don't have any more power anymore. Paper is cheap, she said. I never signed my clan servitude to Konoha. If your people will not be of use to Konoha, then you know what that means, the third said, as he looked at her with a narrow eye. But she was not afraid at all. You kill us and the beast is free. Aside from the fact that Konoha will be wiped off the map if more than half of us die and that beast get free. There is one more thing that you need to consider, she said. If even one of us die at your hand, and the ghosts hear about it. She leaned forward. He will come here, and you will make it rain with your blood, she said. She stood up as she straightened her kimono. I have clan issues to attend. You know how to find me, she said, as she left, not caring about his response. Sir Toby started to regret forcing the Kurama clan to leave their home and into Konoha. Jiraiya still couldn't find a way to break through the seal wall, and even if he got close, 3 minutes later he had to move, as swarm of team would be coming after him. The student that his student had taken on was making waves in Fuinjutsu, and Hiruzen saw that the Namikaze had to be ushered and protected. Hiruzen made Jiraiya focus on Minato, while snapping Orochimaru trying to contact his former student and coax him or threaten into an alliance with Konoha. Darkness was too rich in resources. Hiruzen was in his 30s right now. He didn't know why his predecessors did not capitalize on this years ago. He decided to put that aside for now, as he was thinking about different things. The Hidden Stone and Kumo were working together, and lately, less and less Uzumakis were coming to Konoha. Darkness was where the clan was migrating, and Mito Uzumaki also wanted to spend some time there to visit her cousins. In about 3 years, they have to get a new holder to hold the nine-tailed beast. But that would be jeopardized if their current holder wanted to stay in their rival country. He could only hope that Orochimaru could get a hold of Naruto and bring his former student into order. He forced that out of his mind for now as he made sure his two ninjas in the stone and Kumo find out what is going on. Time skip. Welcome to Uzu, Lord Naruto. The leader, the 5th Uzukage, his name was Torun Uzumaki, walked up to Naruto with a wide grin, his arms extended, as Naruto eyes easier on the man, as the both of them share a hug like they were long lost brothers. It was a strange sight as both of them placed hands on each other's shoulders. They speak so freely and calmly. The Uzumakis were surely nice people. The man was in his late 60s, but he looked like he was in his late 30s. Long red hair, with a genuine happiness in his eyes. that was hard to explain. It was just looking like pure happiness. They have been exchanging letters. The man sent some of his people to darkness, and they said that they were treated well, but he has never been there before. Despite that, Naruto decided to come here because he was the one that had turned off the alliance till they were ready. As Tsuaki was, well, surprised, and the man insisted that she not bow to him. Seeing that she was a student of Lord Naruto, they might as well be family. Torun slung his arm over Naruto's shoulder, and Naruto copied the action by doing the same. Even though Uzumaki was a bit surprised, Torun was always a happy and smiling man. He was always doing things for the good, but the interaction was just so pure and genuine. He took Naruto on a tour of Whirlpool. The country was a village known for their fiery temper, the people when they were cross, but the place was beautiful. As Torun appreciated how Naruto ended the civil war and made a second home for his people. As Naruto, guards, and some of the Uzumaki kept the normal people away, so the both of them can walk and talk. I have nephews and nieces back in their country. They want to become ninjas. Is that right? Said Naruto. Yes, they have friends that enrolled in the academy. The system in darkness did not allow children that were not born there to join the ninja academy, only the civilian academy. This was inspired because when Naruto was back at the Hidden Rain, he could not become a ninja because he had an immigrant status. Torun closed his eyes as he laughed at something his eldest daughter had told him from her visit when she came back home. Your ninjas are quite impressive too, he said. As Naruto ran a hand through his hair, well, we're all trying our best to protect our home, he said. That is true, but you're not giving yourself enough credit. I can personally attest the strength of darkness back in the Civil War, as I helped some of your people escape the bloodshed and murder. But now, I don't know how you did it, but your ninjas are very, very strong, he said. As Naruto bowed his head slightly. Thank you, Lord Torun, he said. Your clan had been around since the creation of this planet, it seems. I'm just glad that you're not annoyed since I kept on pushing off your alliance attempts. The wrath of a Fuinjutsu and Kinjutsu specialists is the last thing I want, he said. Torun scoffed. I'm not mad. In fact, I understand why you didn't ally with Uzu earlier on. You do? Said Naruto. Of course I do. Darkness needed to get back to its feet first. You needed for them to build up their strength first. I would have been disappointed if you had accepted when I had first sent you that letter. Now, 7 years later, Darkness was back on his feet and taking off under your leadership. I only hope that our countries can be on their friendly terms. I assure you, Lord Torun, Whirlpool and Darkness will be allies, said Naruto, in one way or the other. You know, with your upbringing and the things I've heard about you, you're a lot more, what is the word? Professional, yeah. You're a lot more professional than I thought. There's a terrifying amount our countries can gain from this union. The both of them knew that. As I am the one requesting the alliance, I hope you have your conditions ready. Yes, I do. And they are not beyond reason, said Naruto. Great, said Torun, as Naruto looked up to see that the moon was already showing on full view, as the streetlights were already on. Let us go to my house, Torun said. We can begin talking about the alliance first thing tomorrow. Time skip. The next morning, Kushina Uzumaki had to admit she was enthralled when she heard about the ghosts. The ghost that like Darkness, orphan at 6, forced to fend for himself and his friends, forced to go through a war, trained by the snake son himself. The tales her mother used to tell her filled her with childish wonder. Hearing that he was coming here, she was already debating whether she should go to Darkness or not, but hearing that he was coming here, as she made her mother dress her in her most formal clothing, as her grandfather Torun had taught her the proper ways to address someone and how to greet someone when of higher status. She knew all of them. She was ready. No, she wasn't ready, she thought herself, as she was wearing a blue dress with whirlpool pattern at the bottom, with white socks and black sandals. She gaped up at the man, who looked down at her with a kind smile in his eyes. This is my granddaughter, Kushina, Torun said, as Naruto saw that Kushina had gotten all her features from her mother, as he met her mother earlier. As Torun told her to go on, she stepped forward. She's a huge fan of yours, Torun said. Naruto laughed as he ruffled her hair. Oh really, he said, as her face started to turn red and she felt butterflies swimming in her stomach. She had been waiting for this day, but now her mouth wasn't listening to her. She couldn't talk. Well, it's nice to meet you, Kushina, he said. Come on, anything. Anything, she cursed in her mind, but nothing was coming out. Mom, she mumbled. Her mother came in. I'm sorry about her. She's just starstruck as she led her daughter away with a peaceful smile on her face. As Kushna's mother took her and swept her away, as Kushna looked at Naruto with a still shock, surprise on her face as she was taken away as they went off. You know, she kind of reminded me about when we first met Naruto. As he looked towards Sawaki, who was always with him, she wondered, was that how she really acted? As Torun ushered them to his office, as he had an advisor with him as well, as Naruto had Sawaki. It took 2 days for them to iron on the details, and it went well. In fact, to say gone well was an understatement, as permission was given towards the people of Uzu, so they could enter the country, where they could pass the dangerous wall of soul, pitch darkness that he was going to erect around the country, as he knew that Konoha was planning on invading them soon enough. And for the first time, Uzu allows someone to come to their island without an escort, meaning no whirlpool or riptide could harm them, and the summoning almas around would protect the people of darkness when they step on Uzu waters, and they would allow each other to supply their shinobis in their schools. This was perfect as darkness was blessed with teachers that specialized in espionage, assassination, infiltration, while Uju was specialized in Fuinjutsu and Kinjutsu, so they can learn from both. The only limit to all of this was that no clan-based jutsus could be taught or shared. Business could be open, and the 3-month permission that the people had to live in either countries was increased to 5 years. Homes could not be bought, but they could be rented. Darkness and Whirlpool civilians could apply for a job and business outside of the teaching, but they could not be made managers or head of departments. But they will still be paid equally with other workers. Whirlpool will help Darkness to build strong ships, and Darkness will help Whirlpool build strong houses and buildings. And the teams are also increased if they went on the same missions. 2 Darkness and 2 Whirlpool shinobis together. This was closer than any alliance Uzu has ever made in the past. Closer than your limited agreement with Konoha. When it was announced, everyone was celebrating. It was almost like the both of them were uniting together without exploiting each other. 3 days later, Naruto had left for his country, as he had to wait for the Sand Delegate, the Kiri Delegate to arrive separately, and the River Country Delegate. As Naruto was embarrassed when Torun had presented him with a gift, seeing that he'd forgotten to get anything for the Red Head, he graciously accepted the gift, swearing to return the favor once Torun came to visit Darkness Country. A white and black box with the stamp of Whirlpool on it, tied up in a purple bow. As Naruto opened the box to look inside, it was a ninjato. Shorter than a katana, longer than a tanto, it was a perfect weapon for a shinobi. It was not rare to find, but this ninjato was different than anything Naruto's ever seen or used. A pitch black handle with a silver blade, with a curve on it as Naruto picked up the blade. There were 2 whirlpools on it. As he held onto it, they pulsed with his black chakra. It was made out of what he could only guess was Uzu steel, metal that was rare as obsidian steel. As he moved it through the air, black haze following it like phantoms. He swallowed. As Torun spoke, I had to ask my blacksmith to put this together at the last minute. I know it's not the best you've seen, but I'm sure you can put it to use, Naruto, he said. As Naruto placed it back in the box, I can't afford this, he said. Booming economy or not, the metal costs nearly half of his country, and the workmanship costs the other half. Come on, Naruto, this is a gift, Torun said, a smile. As Naruto remembered, it was a gift, but it was a very expensive gift. It's too much, said Naruto. I would like to think that this isn't enough, said Torun. Not that I don't appreciate the gesture, Torun, but you didn't have to go this far, said Naruto. It's an old tradition of my people, Torun said, for a shinobi to give his brother or sister, whether you're in the shinobi force, a weapon to protect himself and the ones that he loves. It's a way of saying that we want you and your people to be safe. The people around him nodded as well. Naruto wasn't one to judge any tradition, but one thing the man said stuck in his mind. You consider me your brother, he said. He slapped Naruto in the back pleasantly. Of course, with the alliance, our nations has become brother alliance. As he extended his hand, as Naruto took it, as he leaned closer, even still, we are brothers in ideology. As all Naruto and Torun did was to help their people. They never did the alliance out of greed or spite. They did it to help and nurture and support their people, to gain them strength and more protection. by giving him this, as showing a sign of brothership to show that Uzumaki's would also be there as well, to keep and help Darkness be safe. Naruto's eye curved up into a smile. Thank you for the gift, Torun. If you find the time, visit Darkness. I will certainly do that, said Torun. Sawaki closed the wooden box and sealed away on her inner forearm. The people cheer as Naruto pulled Torun to a brotherly hug. I'm not sure how I can top your gift, but I'll try my best. A roar of laughter went off at his words. I look forward towards it. 10 minutes later, as Naruto was back on the ship, as Naruto watched as the whirlpools parted as his ship went through, as Sawaki sat down to his side, as he glanced towards her, she leaned her head and tilted on his shoulder, and Naruto chuckled. Yo. She responded. Sleepy? She nodded and grumbled a bit. He could understand that. She had been working alongside him in these past 3 days. There was very little rest. He patted her on the head. Get some sleep. I'll wake you up once we get back home. Okay, she said, as she closed her eyes and rested back on his shoulder. Even though she was on his shoulder, she felt like she was in his arms. Naruto, his back straight, quietly kept on watching the sea, allowing her to sleep. Meanwhile, patiently, taking their seat in one of Darkness' many sentry posts, Orochimaru and Tsunade waited. The four, dark children at the post, eyed them cautiously. What message do you want us to send to our leader? One of the Chunins scanned them, waiting for them to bring out the letter that they wanted, but Orochimaru spoke. Tell him that his old teacher wants to talk to him. It might take a while, the group leader said, as he crossed his arms. Orochimaru sat back and crossed his legs as Tsunade brought out a small book and started reading. We can wait, she said. Time skip, as Naruto sat on the seat that his student presented to him as he waited for the four Chunin to leave. The ninjas took up position outside, just in case their leader was going to be attacked. As they prepared themselves, they had to make sure their leader was always protected. He handed his hat towards Sawaki as she took it and stood behind him as he leaned back and tilted his head at the two ninjas standing in front of him, his blue eyes not really showing much. Across from him was the two Sanins, two of the three, Tsunade and Orochimaru. Hello, Naruto, Orochimaru said as he smiled. Tsunade did not look up from her medical book. She only turned a page. Neither of them acknowledged this respect. After all, Naruto was higher than them, despite them being Sanin. How have you been? I've been well, said Naruto. You look... His eyes went over Orochimaru. Older, he said. Well, time take a toll on everyone, you know. As he laughed a bit, even though he was offended by what Naruto said a while ago. After all, his main goal was to try and reverse the aging process, or slow it down. But he knew Naruto as much for him to say something like that, so it didn't really shock him that much. I appreciate that you did not bring Jiraiya with you. Ah yes, my teammate is less than tactful when it comes to negotiations. I convinced him, all with respect, not to come, Lord Naruto, Orochimaru said. I mean, I would have had him arrested for his attempts of trying to infiltrate my country, said Naruto. Are you so confident that you may be able to apprehend him? Imbecile he may be, but he is still the Toad Sanin. I would not say it if I didn't have my ways. Of course, you are the dreaded Sanin, are you not? You have a reputation in Fire Country, you know? I know, said Naruto. You're now almost akin to the boogeyman, Lord Naruto, Orochimaru said. I will admit, I envy your infamy. I got a very busy day ahead of me, Urukai. So why don't you cut the crap and tell me why you're here? Tsunade snapped her book close as her eye twitched. Is that how you talk to your teacher, brat, she said. Sawaki's eyes turned towards Tsunade with a venom look in it, as her finger twitched as Naruto raised his hand stopping her. But her hand still twitched at disrespect towards her master. Matter of fact, yes, said Naruto. And he's not my teacher anymore. So did the third send you here to strong-arm my country under him once again? Or did he send you here to assassinate me? His question took them off guard, and Naruto's eyes curled up into a smile. So tell me, which is it, he asked. How are you so sure that we're not here for a peaceful alliance meeting? Because I would have been notified a week prior to today. That is the unwritten protocol of countries trying to ally with another country. I can give 3 more reasons why you're here for my head and my country, but I'm sure you two can think of them. Lord Third only want what is best for their country, Orochimaru said. You see, there are a lot of bad people in the world. Some that will go under underhand means to steal and rape your country, using any means necessary to take the rich, bountiful part of your nation. My Hokage, all you want is for your country to not fall in the hands of such delinquents. So, said Naruto, he, Lord Third, want Dark Country to be under the protection of the Leaf. Not under Fire Country, but under Konoha. Konoha is known to successfully protect its friends. That is why many rush towards the Leaf. I'm not sure if you noticed, but there are some greedy men and women that wants to take your resources, your obsidian mines, your gold mines, your fish, your chocolate trees. They're just ready and waiting for the ambush. Sawaki turned towards her master. As she glanced at him slightly, she was getting a bad feeling in her gut, and it was not because of Orochimaru or Tsunade. All we want is a slice of your riches. A small slice that you will barely know is gone. 50% of your monthly profits, including obsidian steals, gather from your mines and the trees that you cut down in the forest. Naruto's shoulders started to tremble as he laughed under his breath. Is that all? As the both of them nodded, yes, that is all. Okay, I want you to go back to Konoha and tell the third Hokage something. It's very important. Are you listening? Orochimaru knew what was coming. He already knew Naruto. As Naruto got to his feet, I want you to tell your leader, Sarutobi, to kiss my ass. Tsunade got to her feet in outrage, but Naruto spoke. Get the hell out of my country, he said. As he turned to walk, Orochimaru shot forward. But guys, if you end episode right here, if you want to see the next part, do like, subscribe, comment down below, and turn on the bell notifications to stay posted. But I'm off now, see you guys soon. Peace.